George Moore explains the difference between sporebiotics and probiotics.
Okay, so here we've got the Clear Labs Therabiotic Complete. And so on most probiotics that you see, you'll see like a series of either acidophilus, bifidus, and you see all these various strains of what are known as friendly bacteria. There are some people that have promoted in the probiotic area what are known as soil-based organisms. For example, in some cultures, they will preserve their food by, let's say, putting it in the ground, fermenting it, knowing that there are certain bacteria that begins a fermentation process, and that's a way of preserving things. You're exactly right. Well, enter into this concept with sporebiotics, and the spores are maybe the equivalent of the seeds of the plant. Spores of bacteria of certain, like particularly this bacillus subspecies of it here, and this has a series of 4 of these bacillus. They find, for example, in desert areas where it can, the temperature can go to 140 degrees, so they can survive extreme environments, very much like in our desert. Sometimes there's some plants that they know only come to life like every 7 or 10 years.
Yeah.
The seeds are in the ground, and then in the right conditions, they will germinate, sprout, and then you have a plant that maybe under, without heavy rains, won't grow. Well, this is the equivalent of that here with probiotics, and the benefit of this is that just recently the NIH, National Institute for Health, actually has a series of, I think, 5 parameters that they use to really identify effective probiotics, which both of these would qualify as probiotics or friendly bacteria. One is that it has to pass through the very acidic environment of our gut, our stomach, and the stomach in fact, the healthy stomach is as low as 1.0 pH. And as you know, in a acid alkaline scale, 0 is the most acidic, 14 is the most alkaline. We kind of say we desire to be like right around the middle.
Yeah.
Well, the stomach needs acids to break down, well, all kind of things here as part of our digestion. And so what this company did is they tested, I think it was 32 different strains of bacteria, and they found that just trying to survive a 3.0 pH, only 6 of them survived. And
really?
then when you get to, let's say, 2 to 3, there was just even fewer. These guys can survive a 1.0 pH.
So the most acidic?
Yeah, so
Right.
they can survive the most acidic environment. You can actually, the one reason they don't need to be refrigerated, they can survive cooking.
Really? And it's still effective? It's still working?
Yes, because just like that desert seed that I talk about, that only comes to life under the right environment, these can withstand the very harsh, you might call the equivalent of a desert environment in our own gut, and then the right environment, which is the temperature, humidity, and everything else there, that's when they sprout, so to speak, and come to life. And so in addition to surviving the acidic stomach pH, they have to be received by our own microbiome, our gut flora. When I say received, just the fact that they're there, they find that most probiotics, they do work, but they work, their benefits are transitory. In other words, as they're transitioning like from our swallow it until we poop them out the anus, there are some benefits it does of, well, it's producing certain vitamins and other things there. Well, these actually not only have those benefits, but they actually have found they can be implanted, received by our body, and they do some other things that I think are absolutely amazing. I'd always heard that of all the mammals, humans, we're the only ones that cannot produce our own vitamin C. So we need to get it from food sources, where cows, goats, and everything else, most ruminants produce their own vitamin C through a fermentation process. These particular spores, man, I should be the sales rep for this company and making money here. Why am I doing this for free? Well, anyway, I'll tell you, once you might say I dig into stuff because I like to understand. Once I do, then I get it. But anyway, so these actually convert sugar into vitamin C. The very first time they have found something that actually can cause our bodies to produce its own vitamin C. Another benefit is that I found out that, for example, beta carotene, one of the antioxidants that we know is a precursor to vitamin A, beta carotene has a difficult time surviving the harsh environment of our stomach, and these particular spores actually cause our bodies to produce its own beta carotene at the receptor site in our gut here that's needed to absorb it. And so as I was just kind of not only looking at some of the information that is going on that I've already seen printed, I've started speculating about some other benefits based on what I've experienced myself in trying it. And of course, this is speculation. I don't have any documentation. But I noticed that when I look at people's blood under the microscope, I frequently see, like when I look at the red blood cells, the hemoglobin is the center part of that cell. And many times they look like bagels or donuts, meaning there's an empty center, and I can tell that a person's not properly absorbing iron, or at least they're maybe, you might think either they don't have enough or they're not getting enough. Well, there's a couple things I look at with blood to see whether it's a matter of them not getting enough for absorption. And one of the things I look is to see how uniform in size the blood cells are. So if I see like lots of big ones, small ones, it's usually an indication a person's not properly absorbing it. And usually it's a sign that they may need more B12 and folate. Or I'll see people with oval-shaped cells, which can indicate the same thing. I'm noticing tons of people have that. And of course, I understand that many of us basically are poor methylators and need the methylfolate form of what used to be called folic acid. I mean, there's still folic acid. That's needed. And B12 deficiency is rampant, especially among vegans, vegetarians. And I find even plenty of meat eaters still show the same thing. So I'm thinking that the way that B12 is produced is through a fermentation process. And as I began taking these, and of course I've only done this for about a month, so I don't have very much lead time on the rest of you all, it almost seems like my energy and things that I associate with having higher levels of B12, I've experienced myself. So one of the things that I'm looking at and just kind of doing my own research is to see if this stuff also, amongst its other many benefits, helps our body to produce its own B12.
Really?
So this is just me. This is me.
You feel like you have more energy?
I do, yeah, and the mental clarity, like as you know, like the whole dementia and brain fog are like rampant in our society. And I do notice like much greater mental clarity, focus, alertness, recall, the ability to do a Sporebiotics seminar like on the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
Thank you, George Moore, for telling us about Sporebiotics.
You're welcome.
It's at Natural Medicine and
Detox Center.